Hello, in this video we will start solving examples and the practice problems on the book called Fundamentals of Electrical Circuits. Now, the chapter that we will be covering is going to be chapter 9, which is sinusoids and phasors. Let's start with the first example. Find the amplitude, phase, period and the frequency of the sinusoid. In order to find the amplitude, we have to look the coefficients of the cosine or the sine function. In our case, we have cosine, and the coefficients of the cosine function is the 12. So the amplitude is going to be absolute value of 12, and the notation for amplitude is Vm. And this is in terms of volts. Now it's time to find the phase. The phase is an angle, and the only angle that we are seeing in the function is right over here. It's 10 degrees. Since it's an angle, we could have defined this angle in terms of radian as well, and the notation for that is phi. Now we're gonna have to find the frequency of the sinusoid, but before that we have to know something called angular frequency, and the notation for that is sigma. This angular frequency is totally different from this frequency, and the angular frequency is the coefficients of the changing variable of the function. It maybe sounds something complicated, but it's actually quite simple. The changing value in the function is t, so the coefficients of the t in here it's 50. Now therefore the angular frequency must be 50, and the unit of angular frequency is radian per second. Actually, now we are able to find the frequency of the sinusoid. But before that, let me find the period. And the notation for period is t. And to find the period, we're going to have to apply the formula, which is 2 pi divided by sigma. Go ahead and plug this 50 in here, which is going to be 2 pi divided by 50. Go ahead and calculate this value on your calculator. What you're gonna end up with is gonna be 1,257 in terms of seconds. Now finding frequency is quite simple. It is just the reverse of the period, which we've already found. So it's going to be 1 over 0.1257, which is going to be 7958, and the unit for frequency is hertz, and the representation of the frequency is the letter F. So let's go ahead and find one practice problem about it. Calculate its amplitude, phase, angular frequency, period and the frequency of the given sinusoid. So let's start off with the amplitude. The amplitude is the coefficient of the function. It is the coefficient of the sine function. In this case, it's 30. So we have 30 volts. Now let's find the phase. So it's time to find the phase. Don't let this minus sign scare you. It's just an angle. Phi equals minus 75 degrees. Let's find the angular frequency now. Angular frequency is the coefficient of the t. In this case it's 4 pi. And if you remember from the previous example, the notation for angular frequency is omega. Now we have to find the period. How we are going to find the period is actually quite simple. Applying the formula, t equals 2 pi divided by the omega. It's really good to have 4 pi in the angular frequency, because dividing 2 pi by 4 pi makes these pi's cancel out, and we're gonna left with 1/2, or 0.5 if you will, and it's seconds. Lastly, we have to find the frequency, and the frequency is represented by f. It's just the reverse of t, which is 1/2, and it makes 2 second reverse, or hertz.